Thank you for joining us. My name is Sally Ashworth, Head of Media for Harvard Business Review Press in the UK. And today I'm pleased to welcome Elisa Farri and Gabriele Rosani. Elisa is a Vice President at Capgemini Invent and an expert on management at the intersection of academia and business. She is included in the list of management thinkers to watch by Thinkers 50 and was previously at the Harvard Business School Research Center in Paris. Gabriele is director at Capgemini Invent, where he works across the fields of strategy, innovation, and sustainability. An experienced advisor to Fortune 500 companies, Gabriele previously worked at the European Centre for Strategic Innovation. And together, they're the authors of Harvard Business Review Guide to Generative AI for Managers. Recognizing the profound extent to which generative AI is transforming how organizations work, Elisa and Gabriele offer practical guidance to help managers to mobilize the full potential of Gen AI, both on an individual level and as a leader. They'll be sharing some of that expertise here today. Thank you very much. Okay, Gabriele, I wonder, to kick us off, whether you might talk a little bit about why you wrote the book.
Thank you, Sally, first of all, for having us. And we are very excited to launch the book today. We wrote this book as a guide to help managers integrate generative AI into their daily work. Most managers recognize the potential of generative AI, but few have fully embraced it into their routines. So there is a clear knowing-doing gap. Managers talk a lot about generative AI, but when you ask them specifically, do you use it in your daily work? And they are a little bit hesitant. So, in fact, according to a recent survey conducted by our Capgemini Research Institute, only 15% of managers use generative AI at least once a day. This survey was conducted on 1,500 managers across 15 countries around the world, and it covers different sectors, different functions, and this is basically the global average, 15%. Of course, there are some differences if you look at specific regions or sectors or functions. For example, in the US, this number is a little bit higher. But this doesn't really change the main message that today the daily adoption is relatively low. Only a minority, a tiny minority of managers has embrace generative AI as a routine in their daily work. And this is a figure, but this is compared also to our own experience when we go to events and sessions with a large audience of managers, and we ask them to raise their hands if they use generative AI on a daily basis. The response is consistently limited. And so this is basically why we wrote the book, because we see this knowing-doing gap, this need for help. So to see this number going up fast, and of course, data are a little bit dry sometimes, but I can say that behind this number of 15%, there are stories. There are stories of managers who we met, who we talk with, and they share their experience as a heavy user of generative AI on a daily basis. And I think that Elisa now can share some of these stories of how managers are using generative AI at work as part of their job.
Absolutely. So managers are using AI in a truly fascinating way. In many cases, we hear managers who are using AI as their productivity booster. It summarizes long documents, distills key messages. It also transforms very long email threads, sometimes, the messy ones, into clear bullet points list. It recaps meetings for them, meetings they may have missed or, simply they no longer remember about it. It can also retrieve information or a specific document that can be buried, in some folders on their laptop. But for other managers, AI is much more than that. They are raising the bar of complexity and interact with generative AI on truly sophisticated tasks. What would say these are, the typical complex managerial tasks, like a perspective taking, trade-off evaluation, business development, complex problem solving. So let me share with you two stories. The first one is the story of the head of investor relations. We will call this manager Mark. The way in which Mark leverages the generative AI is to help him prepare and confidently navigate complex earning calls, in particular, the Q&A session. So what Mark does together with AI is the refining of the messages, ensuring clarity, consistency, accuracy, and alignment, with what the investors and the analysts might expect during the call. AI becomes a sort of a sparring partner, interacting with Mark, asking him, tough questions, puts him on the grill as an analyst or an investor would do during the Q&A. It also stress tests the responses of Mark, and most importantly, what Mark told us is that it uncovers potential blind spots. Mark is a seasoned expert manager in investor relations, and he knows that, even after 20 years of experience, you might miss, some important elements that can truly make a difference during these calls. The second story is about a business development manager of a large industrial company. We will call her Lucy. Lucy is a very let's say, professional and perfectionist business development manager. She doesn't want to walk in blind to, an important client meeting. And, she's in charge of complex B2B deals. So you can imagine the pressure and the importance of well preparation for reaching the deal with the client. And so what she does, as I said, she's a perfectionist, so she has a library of context descriptions. What does this mean? She has the files for each client, for each deal, with details, information, past deals, and also, her personal point of view, nuances, that cannot be extracted from documents or emails. And she systematically feeds AI with these pieces of context, depending, on the specific client she would like to have a conversation about, and asks AI to play the role and put into the shoes of the client. And so what happens is that she sort of rehearses, she simulates the sales pitch with AI. AI helps her anticipate counter arguments, also helps her, refine how she handles objections, exercises her negotiation skills and strategy. And so, as you can imagine, this profile of manager is typically, on the move. They travel a lot. She extensively travel. And so Lucy told us that she loves the voice-to-voice feature because she can talk to AI while, she's either traveling or commuting before meeting with the client. So after hearing, story after story, like the ones that I just shared of Mark and Lucy, one insight became almost impossible for me and Gabriele to ignore. AI isn't just helping managers work faster in terms of productivity, it's also helping them think better.
Yeah, and what Elisa just said is illustrated in this chart. So on one side, you see managers that can use GenAI as a productivity assistant, what we call co-pilot. But beyond that, managers can also leverage generative AI as a thought partner, what we call a co-thinker. Okay, but what's the difference? When used as a co-pilot, GenAI can help you, let's say, speed up on mundane tasks. For example, You can ask it to summarize a long document or to draft emails or take a meeting minutes. So here is all about efficiency, going faster, because you want to free up time. You want to delegate these activities to the machine. But we know in a manager's daily work, there are many other tasks where you don't necessarily want the speed, but you look for reflection, you look for thinking, you look for pondering, such as solving a problem, making a decision, or even thinking about the strategic positioning of your offering or leadership development topics. So there are things that are more high level, more sophisticated. And as the stories that Elisa just shared, they show that you can leverage AI also as a co-thinker. So AI becomes your sparring partner. You can have a dialogue with the machine, and the value is co-created. So you have a sort of a back and forth with follow-up questions and in a multi-step structured discussion, which is similar to what you could have with an expert or with a coach. So for example, you want to get different perspectives, you have a problem, you want to really see all the possible angles, or maybe you have some assumptions, but you want to get challenged, you want to have a little bit of the devil's advocate. So you really can look if you are missing something important, if you are overlooking something, and you have this dialogue with generative AI models that can help you reflect and think and ponder. For example, when you have to make a decision and you have to consider the pros and cons, the advantages, or maybe there is a complex trade-off, you have to think about the various dimensions to consider. So this could be helpful in this discussion. So today, the technology allows for both. So it's not a matter of technology here. It's a matter of how you interact with the machine. You can interact as a co-pilot, or you can interact using the machine as a co-thinker. And you can also combine these two interaction modes. For example, you can start in a co-thinking mode. Maybe you do a brainstorming on something and in a back and forth, and then you ask the machine to summarize everything into a couple of paragraphs or into a table. So you switch into the co-pilot mode, or vice versa. You start from a document, you leverage the machine like a co-pilot, asking to summarize the main points of a certain document that you can upload, and then you switch to a co-thinking mode because you ask, okay, this is the summary, but now I want to really understand what are the insights, what are the findings, what are the implications, the main points that I need to consider for my own business. And in that sense, you switch from a co-pilot to a co-thinker. So really, it's up to you to choose how you want to leverage this technology. Of course, the main narrative today is mainly on the productivity side, but in the book, we want to shed light also on this more sophisticated way to interact and collaborate with generative AI, what we call the co-thinking. It's really the more, the most fascinating part. And okay, so you may wonder, okay, I get the concept, co-pilot and co-thinker, but then in practice, how can I embrace a co-thinking mindset? So what are the key ingredients to have a co-thinking dialogue with generative AI? And I leave this to Elisa.
So it's very simple. It's a 3-ingredient recipe: mindset, capability, and judgment. First of all, mindset. We all know that mindset lies at the core of every transformation. We've been here before, and we know that mindset influences how we embrace and adapt to change. Now, for the very first time in history, we have a technology that allows us, to have a conversation with it. So, first of all, it's imperative for all of us to embrace a conversational mindset. Too often, when we talk to managers who are not really into AI yet, we perceive that they have the wrong mindset, what we call the click and wait. So they type a prompt, they share an instruction with the model, and then they simply wait, for some magic answers to come back to them. You do understand that for some minor, very small micro task, like drafting a follow-up email, for instance, this can work and do the job. And again, this is about productivity. But when you have a complex topic, a complex task, this is not the proper mindset to embrace. And so managers need to shift from simply asking AI to do tasks for them to talking to them. So this is the key to have a conversational mindset. Second, they need to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty in order to build a capability that can help them unlock the real value and the potential that this technology offers them. We all know that also in a human-to-human context, when you want to nurture a fruitful conversation, you need to be able to ask the smart questions, not just the right one, but the smart ones. And traditionally, let me be, very, very honest, we have been evaluating managers and executives on their ability to provide the right answers. This technology is, changing a bit or trying to change the paradigm. Now, we are evaluating managers on their ability to ask the smart and the right questions to AI in order, to truly unlock the value and the potential. And then it's all about, building on the output that the machine gives you, articulating, challenging it in order to co-create together the value. Once again, it's you plus the technology when it comes to building this capability. The third ingredient, the most important one, good judgment. Why? The answer is very, very simple. Unlike technologies we saw in the past that we're still using today, like, calculator. We all have, calculator in our mobile phone or, on our desk. They are always providing accurate results. Let's be honest, 2 plus 2 will always equal to 4. With generative AI, which is based on statistical method, we can't expect the same. So an identical queries might lead to different answers. And this is something that we should all keep in mind. So on the one hand, we are facing, a lot of potential, a lot of benefits. But then on the other hand, we need to be fully aware that this tech poses real risks. We're not denying that. And plus, there are no quick fixes. This is not, the magic wand. And so responsible use of AI should start with you as managers. And then obviously it should extend to your team. When we talk to GenAI-enabled managers, they share with us that they invest a lot of time in making their teams aware, not just of the potential, but also of the risks and the traps. This technology is evolving so fast, almost on a daily basis. And the more they talk, about the changes and the potential new risks and traps, the more they nurture this judgment muscle, both at an individual and a team level. Obviously, they encourage, their teams, not just, to embrace the mindset, to build the capability and the judgment, but also to keep, experimenting, applying AI to the various tasks and to see, where the real benefits might lie. So at this point, you might ask yourself, okay, Lisa, now it's clear to me. I need to roll up my sleeve, embrace a conversational mindset, start talking to AI, but from where to start? This is the most frequently asked question that Gabriele and myself receive. So Elisa, from where to start? So the book aims to provide the answer to this question. We wrote it in a way that it can become your Swiss knife. And in order to do so, what we did, we truly unpacked the manager's job in 4 main categories. The first category is about tasks that you do for yourself. The second category is tasks that you do as manager of a team. The third category is about tasks that you do in order to manage business. And the last category is all the tasks that you do in order to drive change and transformation. Within each bucket, we then listed the common managerial tasks that almost every manager, notwithstanding the industry, the sectors, the functions, face at least once in their managerial lifetime. And then we differentiated between tasks that have a very good fit with using AI as a productivity assistant compared to tasks that are more complex, where it's not about clicking and waiting, but it's more about interacting in a two-way dialogue with AI. For each task, you will find tips, prompts, in some cases also very long prompts, because when it comes to having a dialogue, we structure them in steps. The main goal of providing you ready-to-use prompts is that we would like you to have a springboard, a first-hand experience with co-thinking. Then we hope that you will customize these prompt sequences to best fit your context, your needs, your sectors, and so on. So feel free to draw inspiration from what you find in the book and then customize it to your specific context. So what you're seeing now in this chart is the table of contents of the book represented in a table format. Overall, you will find more than 35 tasks. So we hope that you will have enough food for thought to start getting your hands dirty. I reassure you, you don't have to read the book from A to Z, from chapter 1 to chapter 23. You can just, have a look at the table of content, and depending on what you would like either to try or what you need to do on a specific day, just go straight, on the specific chapter. And the chapter will walk you through the methodology, the examples, the stories that can provide, ideas, and once again, a springboard for you to embrace AI. Whether you will be interacting with AI as a productivity assistant because you see more value in using it as a copilot or as a thought partner, there's one rule to remember. Am I right, Gabriele?
Yes, the rule of the plus, because it's not a competition, it's not AI against human, but it's always AI plus human. So it's a plus, and the value is created together, leveraging the strengths of both AI and humans in a collaborative way. So what AI brings to the conversation and what human brings. So let's look at AI first, what AI brings to the dialogue. First of all, it's helpful because it provides a long list of starting points rather than leaving you with a blank page. So it acts as a sort of a springboard, helping you get started. Whether you do a brainstorming, you need many ideas, or you look for many examples or analogies. AI does not get tired in the sense that you can ask 10 ideas, 20 ideas, 30 ideas, then you can continuously iterate. So this is the power of breadth that AI can give you. Breadth of idea, breadth of choices, breadth of option and examples. Then when you have this long list and maybe you identify one item from this long list that captures your attention, you can ask AI to expand on it. So to go deeper, to articulate, to create more articulation. So that's the power of creating articulation. Then sometimes you need also to see the things from different angles. you want to see a different perspective on a certain topic. And in this sense, AI is good at taking different personas, taking different perspectives, offering the viewpoints of various shareholders, wearing the hat of different stakeholders. For example, you want to test how different audiences might react to a certain message, or how customers might react to a new product, and you can use AI to simulate these different perspectives. Also very useful in evaluations of things that have, many dimensions to consider. You want to understand the advantages, the disadvantages. Maybe there are trade-offs, and you want to consider all these trade-offs. So AI can really help you map all the pros and cons when you make a decision. So this is how GenAI can help you. But as we said, there is also a human component, and there are a few things that humans bring to the dialogue with AI. First of all and foremost is context. Because you must provide context if you want to get something valuable. If you don't provide your context, you probably will get a vague, generic, standard answer. You will be disappointed, but probably it's not the machine to be blamed, but it's basically because you didn't provide your specific needs or situation, your specific context. And basically briefing AI as you would brief an expert, a human expert, because even the best expert in the world, if you don't provide your own context, your own situation, the answers that you will get will be generic and probably not very fit to your specific situation. So you have to continuously provide context, not just at the beginning when you prompt with instruction, but during the dialogue with the machine, in the follow-up question, etc. So continuously get, inject context and more elements of your situation, and also the nuances that only you yourself can know about your team, your company, your unit. There are many things that are not in the data, but are tacit, intangible. Think about the team dynamics or emotions. So there is something that it's subtle, is not really something that AI can know. So you have to provide that element into the conversation. Then we have another very important one, which is challenge. Challenge is key in valuable conversation, also in human-to-human conversation. You need to create that friction, that abrasiveness that create value, because otherwise the risk is to be superficial. So how you create this friction? Basically pushing AI, you have to challenge AI. So if you're not convinced by an answer, if you think it's too vague or generic or superficial, you can push. You can push and give your feedback, try to argue, try to counter argue, try to go into a dialogue, because that's the only way to create value. But this is also true in human-to-human conversation, and also the other way around. So you can get challenged by AI. You can explicitly ask AI to challenge your thought, to challenge your ideas, to put you on the grill, to play the devil's advocate, to basically see if you are missing something. And this is the value of getting challenged by AI, but you have to explicitly prompt AI to do this. Otherwise, AI will tend to be complacent, saying that your ideas are great. So try to say, okay, now I want you to be brutally candid with me, with my thoughts, and try to put me on the grill. So that's very valuable, but it's you that have to look for this challenge. And then finally, we have the validation. At the end, it's your judgment. So at the end, it's your decision. If you accept, if you reject, if you refine the AI's output, it's up to you. So this is come back to what Elisa said about judgment and critical thinking that you have to exercise through this conversation. And you're not alone. So it's not just your own judgment, because probably you have colleagues and other team members that can contribute. So you should ask also other people in your office if they can also provide some input, especially when you are not sure about the output that you generated together with AI, because maybe it's a little bit out of your specific domain. So this is to say that to get value, you need to have equal contribution. If you see in the dialogue that AI has 95% and you have 5%, probably is not a good signal of quality and value. Should be a balanced dialogue when you also contribute in this dialogue, as you will do with the human-to-human dialogue. I think we can move to the next one now.
Okay, so in closing, because we are seeing a lot of questions that are coming in, so we would like to have enough quality time to take your questions. So what we presented, very briefly about the book is that a generative AI can truly enhance your job as manager. It's imperative to embrace the right mindset, what we call the conversational mindset, and try to make it your default mode. Please do not delegate, okay? Try it yourself. Get your hands dirty, try out multiple models. You will discover on your learning and experimentation journey that some models might be performing better than others, depending on what you want to achieve. You might appreciate more, let's say, the style and tone of a specific GenAI model compared to the other one. The more you become familiar with the technology, the more equipped you will be also in discussing and anticipating what we said at the beginning about risks and traps, and also, to better guide your team in this adoption journey. What we're seeing in our research is that GenAI skilled, GenAI savvy managers will be leaping ahead. Pioneers are saving time, they're innovating faster, they're leading effectively. So my question for you is, why wait? Thank you, and let's take some questions, Sally.
Fantastic, Elisa. Thank you so much. We have a huge variety of questions, some very specific, specialized ones, right through to the broadest entry-level questions. And so I would like to get out of the way, first of all, we have a lot of people who are not hugely experienced in using AI in their work and Gen AI in their work, and want to know a little bit of reassurance about how to manage safety and security of your data when using AI. Could you give a bit of kind of broad advice about that, just to start off?
Yeah, I'm truly glad that you asked that question, because it really raises an important point. Our people in the audience today should be aware that there are some general publicly available models, and then there are enterprise solutions. Okay, so depending on the type of use and the type of data that you want to share with generative AI, you should be fully aware of the model that you're trying to use. So in an organizational context within companies, we do see more and more organizations who decide to have GenAI embedded into their enterprise solutions and offerings to provide a safe space for managers and all the employees to use generative AI. But then we also do see managers who keep using the most popular models that are publicly available. So every time that they are searching for publicly available information, so they're not sharing any confidential or sensitive data, they prefer, to use what is publicly available. So again, I think that this brings us back to one of the core messages of the book. It's about responsible use. It's about about your capability as the human users of this technology to make sure that you have responsible and ethical use. Final suggestions from our side is that, every time that you are in doubt, that you are not feeling confident and comfortable about, which model to use, what kind of information you can safely share or not, please discuss internally. So open up the discussion. This is so important to confront with your IT technical and also the legal team to seek guidance. As I said, technology is evolving so fast, so it's critical and imperative, to ask internally for the policies and the guidelines, because more and more organizations compared to 2 years ago, they do have now, their guidelines, their set of policies. So please do ask internally and seek guidance on it.
Thank you. So there's a great question about the barriers. What's the barriers or challenges for managers that see the potential in AI but haven't kind of generated the motivation to use it? I mean, the question here suggests that learning curve and time investment is a huge barrier. Have you got any advice or any other thoughts about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So first of all, I think that we also linked to what we just discussed. So we need to differentiate. Okay, there are managers in organizations that they decided to adopt generative AI. And so they have clear guidance and they have access to generative AI models. And then there are other managers, the minority in organizations, that either ban or have, let's say, unclear and foggy guidelines around the Gen AI use. And so, as you can imagine, for these managers, this raises, the psychological barrier when it comes to using Gen AI, because they know that this is not either allowed or it's not clearly defined the type of use they're allowed to. Then if we focus on the first category, so managers who do have access, but, are either simply not aware that Gen AI can be used in their daily work. We talk to many managers who tell us, oh, well, this is the first time, that I'm having a discussion about my individual and personal use of generative AI, because all the discussion so far has been around, organizational use cases, how AI can rethink processes. So are you telling me that I can do things differently in my daily job? So sometimes it's a lack of awareness. It's definitely a lack of capability. So that's why we wrote the book. Most managers asked us, we need, some practical guidance. There's this blank prompt syndrome, okay? They don't know from where to start. So what should be, the right prompting technique and so on and so forth. So training, exercising the muscle is imperative. What we are seeing when we talk to managers who are not, let's say, black belt yet, is that they try to force themselves to use it at least once a day. They recognize that it does not come naturally to them, and so they nudge themselves. They also leverage their teams, to nudge them on using AI. So these are the main reasons why there are different learning curves, different adoption, because we need to take into consideration not just the organizational context in which managers find themselves, but also, some personal character trait. And so what I was saying is that if you do not feel like, Gen AI is your thing, maybe you need, to remind yourself and to nudge yourself to get your hands dirty at least once a day.
Thank you. So we do have a lot of questions that I'm just going to square this off now. We've got a lot of questions from people asking about specific LLMs that you might recommend for different things. And I just want to say we're not ignoring those questions, but that's not something that Gabriele and Elisa are ready to answer right now, because it's changing so frequently, and any advice today might be different tomorrow. I don't know whether you want to add to this, Gabriele and Elisa, but just
I mean, the book is tech agnostic in the sense that all the prompts that are there were tested on different models, the most common ones, And so we don't really go into which models should we use, and also because it's not a matter of what's the best model, but as we try to explain, it's more the human AI collaboration. So you can also have the best model, but then if you don't collaborate in the right way, if you don't put context, you don't put challenge, you don't put your so all the ingredients that we mentioned, even with the best model, you cannot extract value. And so that's why the book was more on the way you interact as a manager and collaborate with the technology, regardless of the specific model. We know that every day they're getting better, but it doesn't change this fact that it's a collaboration. You need to know how to collaborate, how to leverage, how to do this plus AI plus human, regardless of the type of model. So that's basically the main message, I think.
That's super helpful, thank you. And Gabriele, Elisa, if you see other questions, we have so many questions. So if there's anything in the chat or anywhere that you see that you'd like to respond to, interrupt me. I'm just going to bring in a question from Mayuk, who the idea of kind of the co-thinker, co-pilot model is really helpful. In co-thinker position for topics one doesn't have expertise in oneself, how do you validate the outputs of the AI model? Have you got any guidance there?
Yeah, so first of all, you should have clarity on at least the framework that you would like to use. So you can say, I want to do this strategic thinking, okay? Please consider the framework of Professor X from Harvard, and we can go through that framework. So you can make explicit the framework in the literature that you would like to follow. And then you can ask AI to guide you step by step through a certain framework and to stop at every step and wait for your elaboration, for your feedback, for your articulation. Okay, so and that way, even if you are not fully familiar with the framework, you can first ask AI to explain the framework, maybe also mention and cite the sources of the framework so that you get familiar with the framework. And then in this sense, AI is a sort of a teacher, okay? And then once you get familiar with the framework, you can probably have a conversation based on that framework. Okay, if you are completely unfamiliar with something, yeah, probably it's where you need to exercise judgment and critical thinking, and maybe it's good to have next to you a colleague, maybe that is more into that topic that can judge or can help you judge if what you are doing together with AI is good value or not. And in any case, you can also check later, but definitely. You can leverage AI also to understand something that you are not familiar with.
Okay. Again, jump in if you've got anything else.
Yes,
Go
Sally,
ahead, Lisa.
I saw an interesting question in the chat that I would like to take, and this is the chat by Peter. He asked, can GenAI be used in a collaborative way by a team, so different humans collaborating with GenAI to complete a task? Absolutely, yes. Yes. So that's my answer, Peter. And the reason why is very simple. I like to call the AI as a sort of a magnet. So it attracts you on a one-on-one interaction, which is typical, of devices. And sometimes this can lead to what Gabriele and myself, we call the solo trap. So you are trapped into this human AI interaction, and you might forget, that you're living in an organization with other humans, in most of the cases more experts than the AI on a topic. And so we need to be aware that this trap exists. And so as managers and leaders, we do have the responsibility of making sure that our teams do not start working, in silos with AI within the team, but leverage AI as an add-on to the human-to-human brainstorming. So we're seeing managers who are injecting AI in brainstorming sessions. and not just for meeting minutes. Okay, but they ask AI what questions are not discussing on this topic, what is overlooked, what we believe we know and might not be true, and so on and so forth. So they use AI as a sparring partner to challenge and also, let's say, to raise the bar of the quality of the discussion that they're having. They ask AI to provide analogies, examples. So you see the value of having AI to augment once again, and not to replace the individual judgment and thinking. So yes, please, Peter and other people on this call, make sure that AI is embedded in the teamwork and not just in the one-on-one.
And I saw another question about, which is an interesting one. So I don't know how to prompt in a way to have this co-thinking dialogue with machine. This is also something that we hear also in our conversations with managers. They say, I got stuck. I don't know how to do this. And they ask us. So that my answer is, so why didn't you ask directly generative AI? So and this is part of the mindset. It doesn't come natural to you to say, oh, okay, maybe I should have asked generative AI. And also for this specific request. So how can I prompt? How can I have a dialogue with generative AI in a better way using better prompts? Just try and ask the machine to help you create a sort of a step-by-step conversation, and you will be surprised. So every time you hit a roadblock or you're not sure how to do something, you can simply ask. But sometimes it doesn't come naturally.
And maybe, Sally, it might be worth if we share some additional example of how to use AI
Please
as,
do,
as a
yes.
co-thinker, because, for the sake of time, we try to cover, the main messages of the book, but I do understand that there's a lot of curiosity of what a dialogue might look like. So let's assume, let's imagine, that you are Elisa and you are preparing for this great webinar, okay? So you may use AI as a co-pilot, or, as your productivity assistant, and writing the voiceover, the talking points for each slide. Or you may want to start having a conversation with AI and help you prepare and rehearse. So for instance, I ask AI, what are, tough questions that the audience, and then I describe the audience, might ask me. And then I say, yes, but please put me on the grill. I don't want the easy one. And then AI comes back with a list of questions, and they say, okay, I feel comfortable in answering question A, B, C, but on D, I have a feeling that, I might frame it, the answer in this way. Take the perspective of, this specific executive in the audience. Does this resonate or not? Am I overlooking anything important? Maybe, shall I use a different analogy? And then the machine gives me back some answers, and then I keep going. And then I say, okay, but are we sure that are we all set? Maybe are we overlooking something? So are you saying that this is a real exchange? I do not stop there, once the machine gives me the answer. I build on it, I articulate, I challenge it. Because, come on, I do not fully trust the AI. So I want to be in control of the type of conversation, and I want to be in control of the final output that I'm co-creating. So the beauty of a dialogue lies exactly in your ability to not be, let me say, lazy, but to proactively engage and interact with AI. And this is something that it should come naturally to us as humans. With the digital interface, it may not. So again, it's about training and exercising the conversational muscle with AI.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So there's a question here from Sagon, who this is a question we get asked a lot when we have people who are at all sorts of different positions in an organization. They might be bought into the idea that we're sharing, but their organization is perhaps a bit more intransigent. And so how can a manager traverse between the potential of AI in the workplace and the bureaucratic challenges to adoption? while ensuring all of the data privacy and confidentiality that is kind of the bottom line. Have you got any advice for kind of the willing AI manager who is being stymied by their organization?
So I will take this, and maybe Gabriele can further articulate. So we have many stories of managers who are now, let's say, black belts in using AI, and they live and work in organizations that might be heavily bureaucratic and not so innovative. It's a frustration. It goes without saying that these people lives it as a frustration. But what is surprising is that within the framework, within the boundaries of their organization policies, they keep striving to improve the way of working of themselves as managers and of their teams. Because this is a personal character trait that is shared among managers who see the potential of AI and know how to use it in a responsible way. So they want to improve things. They want to make the professional life of their teams better. They know that this lays the foundation also for team engagement, for team motivation. And so I can understand the frustration and the feeling because we hear a lot of it, but I also want to reassure the audience that in most of the cases, unless there's a total ban, of using generative AI, there's a lot of potential that can be unlocked also within the company policies and boundaries.
If I may, yeah, the frustration is that you see that there are models like a Ferrari, and then your company gives you a different kind of car, not so performing, and this is frustrating, but you have to understand also that there is a trade-off, okay, between using the best model available publicly and to follow some guardrails. So there's a trade-off, and so I think within what is available at company level in the policies and with the available models, there's a lot of things that can be done. I can understand that sometimes they are not a Ferrari, but for good reasons, because of this organizational judgment, let's say, that put some guardrails.
Thank you. So I have a cheeky question here, although I think increasingly it will become less cheeky. Did you use AI, use case? Did you use AI to write the book?
Well, actually, the book is a guide full of prompts. So basically, we tested all the prompts on multiple models. As I said, is tech agnostic, but in the sense that we tried all the most common models available. And so we iterate the prompts, which are a significant part of the text of the book, and tweak and change word by word, try to see if they work. So in that sense, it was so we use AI a lot, but not just for writing, because for writing we sort of probably were more traditional, but as the book is full of prompts to be tested on AI, by definition, we had to use AI.
Indeed. Magdalena asks, how can AI be used for professional development within a team? Could you help our kind of HR and managerial attendees here think about it in that way? Or not?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise I can do it.
In the book, there are specific cases about professional growth, about things that can resonate to HR, also in terms of change management or conflict resolution in teams. So definitely the machine can be used also on the soft side for culture, for development, for leadership. Sure, we see this potential, and many chapters cover this.
Yeah, and if I may, just to build on this, Not all managers, especially the medium or lower levels, have access, to human coaches, okay, or at least not to regular coaching sessions. So what we hear a lot from managers using AI is that the fact that they do have available 24/7 a neutral interface to which they can ask, questions, share doubts, ask for ideas, suggestions, techniques. This does not replace the human component of coaching, but it provides, let's say, additional input. It's a combination of the human coaching with a sort of augmentation by AI. And again, I think that this also in closing, we want to make sure that this is the core message of the book. So this boils down to a human capability. Technology can do great things, but it is not a magic wand. If you want to be the wizard, you need to develop a capability. You need to be in control. You need to drive the type of interaction, the type of collaboration. This should never be delegated to AI.
Do you know, I think that that's a fantastic place to leave this, because it winds up all of the questions that we've been talking about for this session. I don't know whether you've got any closing thoughts, Gabriele, Elisa. I think a lot of the use cases that people are asking for are in the book, if you'd like to take a look at it, and we'll be sharing a recording of this session afterwards if you'd like to share it. I'd like to thank you both for joining us, and everybody on the call. There are so many questions that we've not got to, but I think that we would just overrun if I try and do any more.
Well,
thank you very much
you.
indeed.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.